Welcome to Inspiring Narratives, your favorite channel for uplifting stories, renewed hope, and cultivating a deeper connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Discover with me how turning to Allah can lead you to amazing changes in your life. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We are back with another uplifting story that will, by the grace of Allah, strengthen your faith and renew your hope, inshaAllah. Let's start by sending peace and blessings on our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Say it with me. Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barik ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. We currently have a beautiful dhikr challenge going on. It's sending peace and blessings on our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Dua Yunus alayhi salam. Two wonderful practices to really transform your life. You can still join if you're interested. The challenge will be ongoing until Ramadan, inshallah. This is a beautiful opportunity for you to really change your life. Pour yourself your favorite drink, get comfortable, and let's get started with our story. Do not allow circumstances or any negative situations you have gone through to shake your faith and certainty in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whatever situation you may be in, if you turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will never allow you to be disappointed. Allah will bless you with so much good. I have a beautiful story for you today about a woman who has suffered and was struggling for the past 4 years. Find out just how her life has changed and just how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed her in ways she couldn't have even imagined. The woman says, I was an employee and alhamdulillah things were going well in my life, no major problems. But about 4 years ago, my husband had an accident and had to leave his job. We did receive a decent amount of money as compensation, but it all went towards paying off our debts and covering medical expenses. So many expenses that I can't even list them all. In the end, we found ourselves without a penny. I tried to work, I tried my best, and thankfully, alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it easy for me to find a job. I worked for an entire year and was able to fully support our household. But after that year, circumstances changed and I had to leave my job. For an entire year, I wasn't working. Can you imagine? A sick husband, children, older students, and many responsibilities. Yes, our house belonged to us, alhamdulillah for that, but there were so many other things I needed to take care of. That year, I borrowed money, and we lived off the money I had borrowed, spending from it every day. That money wasn't enough, and the time to repay the debt came after a year. I couldn't come up with the money. I had hope that I'd find work and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would make things easier. I went through certain circumstances and I felt like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wasn't answering me. I felt like He didn't love me. Why were these things happening to me? Even though I was trying my hardest. At that time, the devil entered my thoughts and I felt lost. So many things going on and I didn't know what to do. Honestly, I stopped praying for 3 months. Imagine someone who has always prayed, and out of despair, I stopped worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I lost all hope. And of course, that's exactly what the devil wants, to make you lose hope and turn away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I just want to say this is the worst thing you can do, especially in a time you are so desperately in need for help. During that time, she says, I was depending on myself and on my efforts alone and forgot to put my trust and reliance on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as I was overwhelmed by all the negative thoughts. My son was in school, but he had to drop out to work for a neighbour who paid him a daily wage. What he made daily was what we would spend on the food for the day. Imagine a family of 6 living off the small amount my son earned daily. I started thinking about what to do, and in the end I decided we had no choice but to sell the house. After convincing and discussing it with my husband, there's nothing left for us to do. We have tried everything. We will be begging next. I convinced him that selling the house was the only solution we had. We listed it for sale, but 3 months went by and no one ever inquired about it. I posted about the house on social media and put up ads in the shops, but no one called to ask about it. By chance, I came across a woman on social media talking about how reciting a certain dhikr can ease things. So I started reciting it 1,500 times a day, with the intention of selling the house. I felt so happy and optimistic, like things were about to get better. During this time, I started feeling like I had been neglecting my duty towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How could I expect Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to answer my dua when I had abandoned my prayers and I'm relying on myself for everything. This feeling only came to me after I began making dhikr. So I thought, why don't you fix your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? I started praying again, making dua and pushing away the negative thoughts. I told myself that as long as I turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will bring a great relief. I kept reminding myself that with hardship comes ease, and that no matter how tight the situation becomes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will always make a way out. The difficult days won't go on forever. I returned to my prayers, and within a week, someone called me asking about the house. Only when I started making dhikr did I receive an inquiry about the house. 2 people contacted me, one over the phone and the other came to see the house in person. The second person said they would think about it and they would get back to me within 2 days. While I was sitting and making dhikr, my daughter said, instead of making dhikr so that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would make it easy for us to sell the house, why don't you make dhikr so that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make easy our affairs to pay off the debt and we won't have to sell our house? That advice hit me hard. She was right. I thought, why am I limiting myself to just selling the house? I should ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to ease all my affairs. So I changed my thoughts completely. The one who is able to make easy for someone to buy our house, He is also able to make easy for us to pay off our debts. Make easy for me to find a job, to heal my husband. He is able to change my life completely and make everything better. So I started making dhikr with all these things in mind, selling the house, paying off the debt, finding a job, and for my husband's health to improve. My husband's health hasn't improved at all in the last 2 years. In the first and second week, one of the buyers contacted me and offered a price lower than what we had agreed upon. Taking advantage of the fact that we were desperate, he knew we were in need, and this was his opportunity. I told him I don't want to sell the house anymore. I had no more interest in selling our house. I knew that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would bless us. I had certainty. In the 3rd week, someone called my husband. He told my husband, don't sell the house, wait until I come over. The person coming was his former boss, the one he had worked for years. And they had fallen out, and because of it, my husband was hospitalized, and it's a long story, I won't get into it. This boss came to visit us in person. How did he all of a sudden, after 12 years, remember us? I was expecting something small, maybe a little financial help. But what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us was far beyond what I had ever expected. This boss came and paid off our entire debt. My husband was due for an operation, but we couldn't afford it. He arranged for my husband's surgery. The surgery took place in one of the best hospitals and was fully covered by the company. After the surgery, my husband needed 6 months of expensive medications, and that too was covered by the company. A few months after the surgery, my husband's health improved and he started working again, this time at a desk job, without needing to exert himself. And his new salary was even better than the one he had before. As for me, I didn't have to sell the house. The house that I had been so reluctant to part with stayed ours by the grace of Allah. Everything started falling into place one by one after I had committed to making dhikr daily. My husband had communicated with his ex-boss before. However, he gave my husband a small amount of money, like he was giving charity to him. And he knew my husband's situation and that he was in need of medication and operation. SubhanAllah, Allah changed the heart of this person without any communication from our side. He, by himself, called us and came to us. Who inspired this person to come? Who reminded this person of us and made things easy for us through this person? It was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with the blessings of sending peace and blessings on our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. There's more. Imagine one of my husband's colleagues was promoted and moved to one of the Gulf countries. After finding out what had happened with my husband, he came back. Before all of this happened, when my husband got sick, he had sold his car for half of its value to cover some expenses and get by. Imagine this colleague, without anyone telling him anything, he came back and met with my husband and told him, I'll get you a new car. My husband initially refused, but his colleague insisted, saying I was going to give this money out in sadaqah. I couldn't find anyone more worthy than you. It's a gift. We've worked together for years and you need it. So of course he accepted it in the end. Who moved this man's heart to help us? It was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you turn to Allah and place your trust in Him, He will never disappoint you. Look at what happened to us. Debt paid off, we kept our house, a car, a job, surgery, a complete turnaround in our lives. May this story strengthen your faith and remind you that Allah's relief is always near. This brings us to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed this story. If you found any value in this story, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with your family and friends. And if you'd like to see more of these videos, then consider subscribing. I'd love to hear your thoughts, so do leave a comment below. I'll see you in the next video. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.